Hi, my name is Christian Noble from the Center for International and Comparative Law at the University of Baltimore School of Law. Professor Alkmim, welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm a Brazilian, I'm a tax lawyer in Brazil, and I'm also a counselor at the Administrative Council of Tax Appeals in Brazil. That's possible in Brazil to be a counselor and a lawyer. I just cannot be a lawyer at the council. And I deal with taxation.
All right, so you gave a talk today. Could you tell us a little bit more about that main point?
We are just chatting and exchanging some information over taxation. We have a very complex taxation in Brazil. Brazil is a federation of 3 levels. Union, states, and municipalities are considered members of the federation in Brazil. And this 3 levels of federation has the power to tax. So we have a very complex legislation of taxation, and I was trying to show how it works in Brazil. It's a logical system, but it's quite complicated. And we also have some differences from here. We consider contributions, taxes in Brazil. That's not usual, but for historical problems and for historical reasons, we consider contributions as taxes. And we have contributions over income, for example, and contribution over revenue. And we have to separate what are real contributions in the sense of a social security charge and the contributions that are used as taxes, especially for application of tax treaties.
All right, so generally, what should people here in the U.S. know about Brazil and the taxation issue?
It's very important if you want to deal with taxation in Brazil. The first point is to know that we are a federation of 3 levels. And the tax power is divided between these 3 levels. Second, to make this difference between tax and contributions, most of contributions in Brazil are not social security charges. They are taxes, as you know. And if you deal with income tax, you should know that we have income tax, we have a social contribution on profits, and you have a specific contribution named city royalties that are over royalties. So when you face income taxation, you should know that it's not one income tax. We have 3 income taxes. And the same happens when you deal with VAT, the taxation of commerce or sales. We have 5 different taxes that rules the VAT rule. We have taxation of industrialized products. We have taxation of sales, we have taxation on services, and we have 2 contributions over revenue, over gross revenue, that are also a kind of VAT. And we have also real estate taxation. Part of this real estate taxation are union tax power, and the other part are municipalities tax power.
All right, is there anything that you would want to say, like, to students in the U.S. regarding?
United States is the biggest country that has investments in Brazil. The biggest investment in Brazil is from United States, and Brazil has also a huge participation in the United States market and the stock market also. We have Brazilian companies, so we have to approach ourselves. We have to approach the study of Brazilian and United American taxes to find a common point of view. We have some difficulties nowadays. We do not have a tax treaty with the US for political reasons and for technical reasons. We have some provisions that we demand to have in our tax treaty that your model of tax treaties do not accept. We have to find a way to solve the differences between our economies to have the tax treaty useful for both countries. But it's very important for us to have this goodwill to have this approach, to have this communication to get to more united countries between ourselves.
All right. Specifically on the topic of tax treaties, in your discussion you talked about two levels of taxes. You have general taxes and you have considerations. In tax treaties, the considerations aren't touched by tax treaties. Is that correct?
No, we have the commentaries.
Yes, yes.
That we say. The OECD is the international organism formed by the 30 biggest economies at the end of the Second War. It has a model of tax convention. So when you deal with international taxation, you deal with the OECD model. And this model is used by the countries to discuss the treaty and to get to a final statement of the treaty. Also, the OECD gives a commentary on the tax treaty. And these commentaries, the OECD says what you should do when negotiating a treaty and how the treaty must be read or should be read. What are the points of accordance and discordance between the interpretation of the treaty. That's 2 books. The commentaries nowadays they are 2 books. And for each article of the treaty, you have specific commentaries over how it should be interpreted. What we discuss is the commentaries are binding to courts or not. And most of the countries do not accept this power of the commentaries. You can use the commentaries for interpreting as a doctrine level, but not as an obligation to use. For here in the US and for us in Brazil, we are in the same level in this issue, because you have, despite of being an OECD model, you have a US model of tax convention. And you use this US model with the commentaries of the Treasury. And we in Brazil, as we are not member of OECD, we are not binding to these provisions.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's been a great pleasure to be at the University of Baltimore.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.